Ladies and gentlemen, and gentlemanly ladies, on this week's On the Rocks, it's all about the music from all over the map with Canadian singing sensation riVerse, and from Texas, America's Got Talent's Kameron, and visiting hot from NYC, we have your answer to Broadway and ambient folk music. Diana Kazakova is here, and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
A banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buns and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. I have to tell you, things are going back to normal. I am not going back to normal. So I talk for a living. I hate small talk so much. Flames on the side of my head. I hate small talk. I hate even talking on the phone. Kamala Harris could call me and be like, hey girl, I want to do a happy hour, and I would send her to voicemail because I hate talking on the phone. Anyway, but I've forgotten how to small talk, from my Ubers to the barbershop to even the grocery store. So he says, hi, how are you? And you too. I don't even know what to say to him. I'm like, blah, blah. I hate it. Can we not normalizing small talk? Thank you. Do you really want to know how I am? I do not think you really want to know how I am. Anyway, like us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. The show is presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our almost 250 episodes at ontherocksradioshow.com. Hello to our listeners around the nation on every major podcast platform, on Facebook Watch, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV on the Outat.tv app. Share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave your phone number if you're single. Even if you're not single, call me. Kurt, do you have a pun for us?
Yes, I always have a pun for us.
Okay, you're so punny.
I took, the other day I took a picture of a field of wheat. Did you know that?
A field of wheat?
Yeah. It didn't come out very good. It was kind of grainy.
I don't know why I do this to myself. Every week I think, okay, now it's going to be, we're like 6 years into it. We're supposed to wait for a good pun.
You put your expectations a little lower.
Well, you know, they're dad jokes, and you are going to become a dad this summer.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Kurt's pun is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, JustFor.Fans. You will have more fun over at JustFor.Fans, believe me, than you will have listening to Kurt's puns. We've all been a little lonely during COVID, need some socially distant, warm connection. JustFor.Fans is the industry award-winning top site connecting adult content creators and musicians, by the way, with their fans. Sign up for free at JustFor.Fans, and they give back to the community. I love how they have adult performers and then musicians doing their thing. Well, that's where we are. Okay, let me welcome my guest co-host today before she runs back to New York City, originally from Canada. You see how... God. Diana Kazakova is an extensively trained vocalist who was raised on folk music. She's performed with the Indigo Girls as part of the Grammy Women Who Rock Festival, and with Enya on Live with Kelly and Ryan on ABC, the Canadian Tenors, and many, many more. As the founding lead singer of the Bjorkestra in New York City, she toured the East Coast, and also as a solo artist has performed in concerts and musical festivals across Canada, U.S., Mexico, and Europe, and her many years of choral experience is woven throughout her folk and theater work. We're actually going to listen to her latest album. She's a seasoned theater performer and has worked with many notable Broadway performers while performing lead roles in a dozen equity musicals and plays, including Jesus Christ Superstar, Godspell, The King and I, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, many, many more. And in concert, she has performed across NYC in venues such as the Apollo, Joe's Pub, Highline Ballroom, 54 Below, the Triad, the Duplex, Squareball Center, and the Symphony Space, just to name a few. And if that wasn't enough, as a creative producer, she has directed top musicians, singers, dancers, and actors from all around the world. Her producing credits include A Night with Quincy Jones, A Great Night in Harlem at the Apollo Theater with Steve Jordan, featuring Tony Bennett, by the way, John Mayer, and Keith Richards, all in one night. P. Diddy and Drake at TW Studios, A Night at B.B. King's featuring Danny Glover, A Night for the Soul featuring Roberta Flack and Macy Gray, The Caravan Music Collective, United Nations of Hip Hop, Battle of the International Bands, and the Magical School Bus Project. But most recently, in this midst of a worldwide pandemic that has created widespread unease and emotional distress and too many calls to Postmates, she most recently released a unique music project to help listeners rest and unwind. The prescription for these tangled times? Take a musical reset. This concept album, The Reset, Ambient Folk for Tangled Times, is a collection of 7 songs featuring warm acoustic and folk soundscapes. And we are going to listen to a little peek at one of her songs later on. Please welcome, with a resume longer than my Postmates receipt, Diana Kazakova. So it's funny because, like, I know you, but, like, I didn't know you until I sat down. I'm like, okay, let's see this girl. Because, you know, we run in the same circles. Thank you, Craig Ramsey. Yes. Then I get to know your scope of work, and it's like, wow, there's not really a genre you haven't touched, somebody you haven't worked with. And then we're going to talk about how your latest album affected me. I listen to new music all the time because, you know, people are on the show, and I listen to a few snippets. I'm like, okay, that's great, blah, blah, move on. This last album really affected me, and I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. But I want to know how a nice Canadian girl like you ends up in New York City.
You know, I moved there sight unseen. It just called me.
What? Haven't you seen Law and Order? Like, do you know what happens in New York City?
I just felt it and I went. It's really that simple.
Was it to like audition for like a show, or you just?
No, I just felt like I needed to be there. So I packed up a backpack, and my mother, bless her heart, took me to the airport and was like, okay. And I checked into the hostel on 103rd in Amsterdam with 11 other girls in the room. And I just got there and began. And I took a walk down Broadway the first morning and ran into Matt Dillon in his blonde hair in a pizza parlor.
For In and Out.
Filming In and Out.
In and Out, incidentally, last week we had Paul Rudnick, who wrote the screenplay. So you texted me and you're like, I have a Matt Dillon story. Was it love at first sight? Did you guys share a pizza or more?
I asked him to show me around New York.
Because, you know, that's what you do when you run into your first celebrity in New York.
And he was my matinee idol. So I figured it was a really good sign that on my first morning, the first person I ran into was him. And he looked so good. He was blonde.
Kind of super gay, but.
Yeah, it was really cute. You know, it was the late 90s.
Yeah. Why are you looking at me like I know? I'm not born yet. Not true. But when did you, obviously it worked out for you quite well, but what was the defining moment where it was kind of that shift? You're like, yes, I'm here and now I'm working. Now it's really clicked. I'm making it.
So it was a couple of years of studying. I was studying voice at Manhattan School of Music and taking a bit of private studies at Juilliard. And I was there for about a year and a half, and I thought, okay, I need to go home to Toronto, to Canada, and just sort a few things out, like a work permit, an equity card. That first time I just went.
Yeah.
So I went home to Canada, lived in Toronto for 3 or 4 years, did a ton of theater there, and then as soon as I could, I got back to New York.
So you really got to cut your teeth and learn a little bit about the biz and learn about doing 8 shows a week and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So and learn about different voices too.
Absolutely. And I felt like in that first time in New York, I got to know the city.
Yeah.
So then I went to Toronto and really got to know like the business. So then by the time I came back, I felt like I had sort of the right balance.
That's really, really smart. A lot of people would move home and then become comfortable doing show after show and be like, okay, and then never like face that town again. It's scary.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know. It just feels like home to me. I'm one of those people.
Now, folk music was a part of your life. It has been a part of your life. That's how you were raised. What does that mean that you were raised in folk music? Were you raised like by goats like on a hillside somewhere in Canada? Do they have goats in Canada? What's that all about?
They do. They have numerous animals in that country.
Mounties.
So my mother played the guitar and sang. I come from a musical family on my mother's side. And they grew up, my grandfather actually had a recording studio in the basement of their house growing up and a piano, and he cut records.
He did?
He did.
This is like way back when, not like in today's time where a recording studio is your iPhone and a pair of headphones.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, San Vital Studios in Edmonton, Alberta. And I actually have a record of myself at age 5.
Oh my God.
Singing and talking. And there's records of my extended family, my mom and her sisters singing together, playing the piano. So by the time I came along, my mom was into folk music. She played the guitar. And so right from as long as I can remember, we would sing together. And then when my sister came along, the 3 of us would sing. And so I was raised on that music. Literally, it was the first music that I sang.
What I love about folk music is a folk music singer, and this is what you have even in like the musical stuff that you do, and especially in your last album. Your voice is so free. You know how some singers there's a little straining going on, or you don't know if they're going to quite hit that note. Folk singers just have this kind of gentle, free quality. Like it's just like it's soothing and comfortable, and you never are afraid of where their voice is going to go or not go. And folk singers can harmonize better than any other people in the planet. It's like you just learn how to harmonize really, really well.
It's true. That's absolutely right.
So I know I hate it when people say I'm obsessed. It's like I'm obsessed with this nail polish color. I'm obsessed. But I truly am obsessed with your voice. It has a smoky, gentle, yet very strong kind of sensation. But singing musical theater is a role. And we know that there's very different ways of singing. And also as a vocal coach, you really understand how the voice works and how certain people have certain limitations and some people just don't. How does your creative process kind of change when you're going from folk music to when you're playing a role?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I would say that folk music, because it's me, there is something personal about it for me, with the history of singing from, as long as I can remember. When I'm playing a role, it feels like that's sort of for the audience. That's something that I'm becoming someone else. So in a way, becoming someone else is a little bit easier than the vulnerability of being yourself.
Yes.
So that's sort of I love both of them equally in different ways. There's nothing like performing in musical theater. There's nothing that matches it in terms of using everything that you have. Folk music is a little more personal, a little more intimate to me.
But singing like 8 shows a week that we, and in a musical theater, you have your sheet music. You have to hit this note. You have to do this. Where I would think that folk music is a little bit of an easier approach and easier on your voice.
I would say that musical theater is in generally speaking a more demanding sing, but it also depends on the folk music. Janis Joplin was kind of a folk rocker. So.
We got this question from one of our listeners. What was it like singing with Enya? We have the picture of you and Enya, and also when you were on Kelly and Ryan. She goes through so many co-hosts. I'm like, which one was it? There we go. Was that a crazy experience? Like, oh yeah, you're going to be on Kelly. There was Kelly and Michael.
And Michael, yes.
You're going to be on TV, national TV at like 4 a.m. You have to show up, whatever. And then you're going to be singing with Enya. You're like, huh? Was that a crazy experience?
It was my friend, Katie Kresick. She's actually on the left in that photo. She's a really talented, respected session player in the city. And so she always calls me in when she has something interesting cooking. And that's what I sort of said to her. I said, I mean, how many millions of people and how many rehearsals? Like one, maybe two. So
that's like morning TV. Like it's like,
right.
If you have a sound check, thank God.
But you know what? She runs such a good session, and all the women involved are so talented and so experienced that by the time we got up there, and Enya is such a lovely human being. Oh, she just there's something magical. I feel like other people walk and she kind of floats.
In my joke mind, I have this idea that, I'm Enya and sail away, sail. And then she gets out, she's like, okay, you guys, we're gonna do it this way and F you and all that. But she's not.
No, she's lovely, respectful. And what was great about that was it was right around International Women's Day, and it was all women.
Yeah.
And that we felt that energy. So it was definitely kind of very exciting. And a wonderful experience.
I'm assuming there was no crazy after party.
No, though I think we went for breakfast.
Does Enya even eat? In my mind, she just goes back to her cloud to write her music.
She went back to her cloud. We went to a diner.
I can see. She's at IHOP. She's like, I love the Rudy Tooty Fruit and Movie. Oh. Okay, let's talk about Reset, your latest album. I'm always very frank, just with my opinions, right? I first heard about the concept, ambient folk music, no lyrics that you would print and, learn. And I thought, oh, God, what is this hippy-dippy stuff? Then I listened literally 2 minutes of the first track, and I believe it's Mantra of 120th Street, which we're going to take a listen to. I was instantly transfixed and transported. My shoulders relaxed. I actually took a breath, and I listened to all 7 tracks, right? Listened to it on repeat, and it was my desk day, so I was answering my emails, I had conference calls, but this music was playing. It was like I got another lung. All of this tension kind of escaped. I would say, if I had to describe it to somebody real fast, it's like Enya, but with meat. where it has that kind of transporting quality, but there's some oomph to it and some meat. This is a very different album. What sparked kind of your inspiration to record it?
Well, I wanted to create a musical experience that was ambient. And by ambient, I mean it could be vocals. In this case, it's vocals, acoustic guitar, and acoustic percussion. But I wanted to create relaxation and mindful music that was in my taste. Now I enjoy Eastern meditative music. I like some of the electronica. I like the neoclassical, but I wanted something that was my wheelhouse. So I have a good friend, and she's the co-producer on this, who's actually a meditation instructor and a therapist. And
I felt like I had an amazing, I felt like I had a massage. I felt like I talked about my childhood problems to myself.
I'm so happy to hear that.
That makes sense though.
Yeah, and she said I would also, so we came together to do this project, and she said, I'd like to send something home with my clients that they could do at home that's easy. And for people who don't even like the word meditation or not into it, not your thing, you don't have to do anything except listen and breathe.
I mean, I was working while I was doing it, and my work just took on a whole different thing. And you guys know that I don't just say things to say, and I really, really mean this. You know, what did run through my head, just like on the 10th time of listening, so coming from musical theater, that's my background. I need my sheet music. I need to know what my intro is.
Yep.
I need to know where my notes are going. I need black and white. I need to hear the piano. I need to learn my notes. How do you score this kind of music? Because it sounds free, but there's structure there, and there's a beginning, middle, and end to all of the pieces. But I can't imagine, like, you just, like, I don't even know how you would put this down on paper.
It's all improvised.
That's insane. That's insane.
So we would sit down and we would think about, okay, the first track is about about home and feeling grounded, and if you're feeling scattered, you would pick track 1. 120th Street is where I've lived for years in Manhattan.
I was going to ask you what the background of that.
So we would talk about, there was a theme for each song, a color, a vowel sound, and we would sit and talk and think and vibe about what does this track mean to us artistically. She would add in a little bit of, like, you know, therapeutic, meditative, and then we would go into our separate booths and we would just go. And this is the part that I was.
You weren't even in the same room?
The three of us, we were all on headphones.
That's insane.
So we did each of those 7 tracks. We definitely knew that we had to build to kind of a peak. Yeah. But it was so challenging to sit in that and not, you know, in a regular song, you're going to peak at like the 2 minutes.
You're going to have it planned out. You're going to see the notation. You would have gone over it.
And so this was it was a really good challenge to make music this way, to make the arc so long and so stretched out. But here's the part that still amazes me. We never set a timer, and all 7 of those songs are within a minute or 2 of each other. Yeah. That I came out, I was like, I don't know how to explain that.
What's also very odd to me is that your vocal phrases end like on the beat, and it's like when they're finishing, it's almost too perfect. But also, like I said, I can't even imagine trying to score this. We're going to listen to a little bit from Mantra of 120th Street, which we know that's where Diana lives. So if you're a fan, bring flowers, just strew them on 120th Street. And this is from her latest album, Reset. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, Alex.
And to me, you know, it does relax you, but it also energized me in a way that I can't really put my finger on. Music affects us all. You know, that's why they use it in torture, but that's also how they woo people. You know, the drums really kind of set your heartbeat. This gave me energy for the day, but in a relaxing way where it wasn't frenetic. You know, we're all going crazy right now. And so to reset musically, such a gift. And your voice just has this power. That's why I said it's like Enya, where it kind of puts your mind in a different place, but there's meat to it and there's a story being told.
Well, and I think also what you're feeling is the musicians and I, Colin McGrath on guitar and Justin Hines on percussion, we had worked together for years. So musicians who work together for a long time know each other's phrasing. So when you're saying how it would kind of sound that way, so we, and especially Colin, we've played together so much that we kind of know.
That's really important. I had the same piano player for like 7 years doing cabarets, and he knew when I was going to take too long or ham it up, and they just breathe with you. Like, the piano breathes with you.
That's right.
So, and it's so important when he left the business, I was like, okay, I'm done.
Well, and I'll say the other thing that I think is unique about the project is depending on what you want, if you just want to put it on and let it play through, it's almost 90 minutes of music. And it's available on Bandcamp. You can buy it on there. And if you're having a day where you feel spaced out, you can listen to track number 6. If you're feeling hurt or you need a little love, you can listen to track number 4. So if you buy it on Bandcamp, I send you these album notes and there's hashtags that go with each song. So, or you can do it the other way around. You can say, wow, that track 3 really resonated with me today. What was that about? And then you can do it in the reverse too.
And I did listen to you on Bandcamp. It's a great app. I didn't know about the app, and so I downloaded it. And one time in Bandcamp, it was amazing. All right, so you're going to help me co-host this show, giving us your insight from the music industry. I'm so excited to welcome our next guest, riVerse, and it's RIVERSE. Their mission is to represent the underrepresented, that's a new word, to empower our fans to know that everybody is uniquely powerful, whether you're gay, straight, white, black, young, old, man, woman, petite, or plus size. You can do, have, and be whatever you want. riVerse is the Canadian singing and performing group breaking the internet. They recently released their sophomore album, Poison Ivy, an eclectic pop and R&B record that explores themes such as self-love, systematic racism, Black Lives Matter, body positivity, and more. They recently gained international attention when the group's founder and lead songwriter choreographer Diz came out as HIV positive in solidarity with National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. The group is made up of Diz, Khadija, Monroe, and Zach. Please welcome riVerse. Okay, we're just going to get down to it because I'm so... Oh, I can't hear.
Oh, there we can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you get closer to the mic?
Yes. 1 second.
Hi. Hello.
Okay, so what happened to Zach? Poor Zach.
Zach, yeah.
Well, sorry, first and foremost, can you hear us better?
A little bit, yeah. It could be louder.
Okay, we're moving
There we go.
closer.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes, we are 3/4 of riVerse tonight because poor Zach, maybe on Friday, I think it was.
Friday, yeah.
He sent us a message and he's like, my stomach hurts, I'm in the hospital, whatever. And then he's like, I have to get my appendix removed. So just like super suddenly out of nowhere, had to get his whole appendix removed and is now recovering. So tonight it is just the 3 of us.
Okay, so yes, he is being a diva. You know, he's on this like fitness program, whatever. I'm like, see what happens when you try to get fit? Your appendix can't even take it. It's like, I'm out of here. Whatever.
That'll teach him.
Yes. All right, to our audience that might not know you, riVerse is RIVERSE. Why? What's that name all about?
So the IV in riVerse is the Roman numeral. The I in the V is a Roman numeral for 4. And that basically is representing the 4 members of the band in riVerse. Some management, different people that we worked with throughout the years would always tell us what makes the group special was the 4 of us. So at one point, riVerse had broken up in 2017. And before that, we spelled riVerse the regular dictionary spelling REVERSE. But upon reforming and rebranding, we swapped out the E, put in the I, and then became riVerse.
Well, what I love is that Google has gotten their act together, because the first time I Googled you guys, it was like, did you mean riVerse? And I'm like, no, bitch, I don't. And then now goes like, here's riVerse website. There you go. So I want to tell our audience how you guys met in the gayest way possible. You met centered around the stage production of High School Musical 2, by the way. Not even the first one. It was the sequel. And that's how you kind of all met and came together. What specifically about your personality said, hey, there's a group here, let's get together?
Well, you know what? It was the band and just music groups in general is something that I've always been working on, and it was always my dream to put together a group of very different people with very different backgrounds and something to say. I felt that we were seeing a lot of the same types of bands kind of coming out and doing their thing, and I always felt like we could use something different. And so when we were doing High School Musical, at that time, the group that I was working with at the time, everybody had left. Everybody was like, you know what, we ain't trying to do this no more. So it was just me. I was the only member of riVerse. And so once doing High School doing a High School Musical and during the audition process and whatnot, I was able to connect with Zach, Monroe, and Khadijah. But it wasn't until we were all cast and actually in the middle of, I think it was dress runs to do the actual show, that I found out, first of all, that Khadijah can sing and play the guitar. And she's a fierce dancer, and she came to High School Musical as one of the dance ensemble. But there was one day where we were on a break, a lunch break, I believe, and I was going to take a nap in my dressing room, and they left the overhead speaker on, and I heard somebody singing and playing the guitar, and I was like, who is that? So I went investigating in the theater and saw in a dark corner there was Khadijah singing and strumming the guitar, and I was like, bitch! Sorry, can I cut?
Yes, you can. It's just $10. I'm good for it.
Sorry. I was like, girl.
You're like, girl. It went from bitch to girl. I love that.
And so, she then was the first member of the lineup that we have now who joined the group. And then later on, Zach joined and then Monroe.
So do you know how good that scene is going to be in like the movie version of riVerse?
Oh, yes.
Like her and I can see it with the dark lighting and there's the guitar and the speaker, and Diz, you're like, who's that? Totally. And Jennifer Hudson is like, why can't I be in that movie? It's
yes.
like, girl, because
that's it.
It's like, girl, you're too old. Okay. What I love about researching you individually is, and Diana, you'll appreciate this too, is the extensive professional training.
Yes.
There's a lot of groups out there that, I can sing and they sound great in their shower, and then, they put together a music video and we're all like, oh, that's interesting. But all of you come from such extensive training with dance or vocalies, and this has just been part of your lives from childhood. But what I want to know, when you have 4 individually talented solo artists, how do you bring this cohesive sound together? Because when you listen to you as a group, and for our listeners, you have to YouTube them. They do an a cappella version of "O Canada."
Oh, I was waiting for an opportunity to say, when I was listening to your music, I was just digging it so on so many levels, really. And by the way, fellow Canadian here.
Yes.
Vancouver.
Khadijah is, born in Trinidad, but grew up in BC.
Fabulous. And I've also lived in Toronto, so I think we have mutuals. I'm sure we do. Mutual friends.
Come on.
But I was listening to your songs, and I was like, ooh, the grooves and like all the different sort of aspects of the music you're making is so great. And then I clicked over to the anthem, and I was like, oh, hey now. This is no joke here.
Yeah.
All real. I'm really impressed, you guys. Really impressed.
We know a cappella singing. Like, if you can't sing a cappella, then you're Britney, bitch. Girl, I love Britney too. Like, free Britney. But it doesn't mean I want to listen to her sing a cappella.
Fair enough.
Yes.
And take a sip on that.
Yeah. Cheers, sweeties. Cheers. So how do you make this cohesive sound, though, with these individual careers and sounds?
You know what? I think it's just Well, first of all, I think for me personally, being the top line songwriter for riVerse, I've just always, I grew up studying many musicians. And one thing that I actually used to do as a child was my mom had a stereo system. And the headphones that I used to listen to, the jack was a little bit wonky. And so sometimes when I would put it in, it wouldn't be playing for me the whole the full sound of the song. I would only hear like background vocals.
That's amazing.
Or,
Oh,
like,
that's
sometimes-
interesting.
Oh, wow.
I used to deliberately make it wonky just to hear the background vocals. So I used to study how, let's say, Mariah Carey would arrange and put together her background vocals. And so somewhere in that, I was able to kind of learn about tones, vocal tones, and kind of like where to place certain
Interesting.
voices. So with riVerse, like we just know whose voice is suited where. So for instance, Monroe being the strongest vocalist in riVerse, her voice is very piercing, it cuts through. So she's always on melody. Because you're always going to get that melody, you're always going to get that earworm stuck in your head, not just because of the composition or the song itself, but also because of the voice that you're listening to. And Khadija has a very rich low alto tone, so she's on a low alto, and there's only two other people in the group who can potentially hit that soprano or high tenor. So between myself and Zach, I'm usually on the high tenor part, and he's usually hitting a low baritone. So we just kind of learned throughout the years. It's been like 10 years that we've been a group, so we just learned how to mesh the voices together, and we always use that formula when performing.
Your blend is fantastic. It really is, you guys.
And not just the sound, what that says to me, knowing the background of music and performing, is that you respect each other so that nobody is sticking out, and you respect the group first, and that's how you come to it. It shows real respect for each other as artists. Khadija, we're going to talk. You started dancing super young for a Caribbean dance troupe.
Come on.
Okay, yes.
You were like, what, like 5 years old?
Super fun and exciting. Like, ooh, she was.
Yeah.
It was. My mom put together a dance group, and she was the dance teacher and like leader of the group. So I used to like be just with her, going to rehearsals and watching their practices and watching their shows and stuff. And then yes, my first performance was they brought me up. I don't know if you know like Caribbean dance moves, but the butterfly. That was like the one move that I knew as a little 5-year-old. So they brought me up on stage to have my little solo moments, and that was my first performance. Yeah.
Girl, I do the butterfly on a Wednesday night in West Hollywood. Okay. But Khadija, I want to talk about leaving New York University to pursue a career in professional dancing. Who leaves New York University? What was that final determining factor where you were like, you know what, this is the right choice for me? What was it that you're like, I'm going to do this? Because that's a tough choice.
I was at York University here in Toronto.
Oh, I thought it was like NYU.
It was a tough choice. It really was. Like, I remember
Yeah.
I didn't even call my parents. I had to write them an email because I was scared what they were going to say. But it was. I actually went to, there was this like conference or something that I went to, and I just remember seeing all these people performing, and they had like, you know, they hire like entertainment, and they were just musicians and singers and dancers and whatever, and I just sat there and I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, I don't want to be in classes. I don't want to be learning the stuff that I'm learning that I don't feel interested in at all. Like, I want to do this. And living in Toronto and seeing like people in the industry here, I saw that there is an opportunity to build a career as an artist. So I was like, if I don't just do it now, then I'm going to regret it however many years down the line, and then it's going to be too late. So like, I can go back to school later if I want to. And I never did.
Well, it's worked out. Diana, what classes were your favorite, and like which were not when you were like studying?
Well, I have to say that I just loved the performance classes. That was my favorite.
You got to show off.
I got to, and you just got to express everything.
Yeah.
I wish, to be honest, that I had taken the theory a little more seriously. I'm literate. I'm definitely literate. But, you know, when I got to New York and I'm hanging out with the jazz guys who are like on another planet, I thought, oh, I shouldn't have skipped that class.
And for me, like, music theory took all the joy, like all the mathematics, all of that took all of the joy out of the music. I went to Chapman University.
Right.
And I got a music scholarship, and I switched to theater because I couldn't handle music at that level. It took all the joy and passion out of everything I had ever thought about music.
I will say that I would encourage people to learn it. I know a fair
It's
amount.
very important.
I know a fair amount. I do. But when you get to New York and you work with that level of people, I'm glad that I can
that's
speak
true.
to them in their language.
Yeah, I would just wet my pants in the corner. Khadija, you are also the word nerd, right? Also the main rapper of the group. Your single, which we're going to watch in a little bit, which is My Bop, Baby Boo. Say that 3 times fast. It sounds like a cutesy title, but you being the word nerd, you know that riVerse's lyrics have a lot of punch to them when you dissect them. And when, the first listen, you're like, oh, this is a good bop. It's fun. But the lyrics, tell me about the power of the lyrics of riVerse's work.
That's actually one of my favorite part of riVerse's songs because I am a word nerd. I really am.
Yes, girl, we know.
I say this to Diz all the time because I think for him, it's just kind of like, it's a creative process and he doesn't really like sit down and analyze his own writing. But I'm like, but the wordplay in this section or like the alliteration and the way that it just like bounces on your tongue, like that's brilliant. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess so. But it's poetry, like songwriting. And I think we say this a lot, but like music absolutely is a form of art that can like touch so many people, but songwriting really is poetry, and it's poetry with the added element of beautiful melodies and harmonies and different it's elevated. So I love it, and I really do think that Diz is a brilliant songwriter. Tell him.
Oh, stop.
He gets shy, but honestly, whenever people actually sit down and ask us about the lyrics, they're like, what were the lyrics at that part? And he'll tell them what it was, and he's like, oh, that actually is a reference to this and this person, whatever. And they're like, the layers. It's like that meme where like all the like different mathematical equations. Yeah. You can see that happening every time people hear the lyrics. Like, oh, I didn't know.
Well, it's funny. The original rapper was, of course, Shakespeare. We know he set the rhythms in his beat.
That's
He told
right.
you what you were supposed to be feeling. He changed the mood. You literally have it broken down in beats. Okay, Khadija. I know you love your cheesy puns. Our engineer, Kurt, opens the show with awful, awful puns. Give us your best pun.
Me? Best pun.
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I heard one today. My son told me one today. And it was, what was it? Oh, he said, if you haven't made a dish before, it's okay. Just take a whisk.
Oh, I like that.
Not bad. Not
Not
bad.
bad.
Not bad.
So cute. I'm the only one who appreciates it.
Well, let me just tell you, our engineer, Kurt, is writing that down. That's going to be next week's pun. I know. Okay, Monroe. Yeah, girl, because everything good is a meow, right?
We missed the first part of what you said.
Oh, I said, Monroe, you're such a meow. You are. So you guys, our audience, this is your homework for this next week. Whenever you like something, it's a meow. Like, it's just a meow, you guys.
Good to know.
Okay.
Meow. Like everything is a meow. Like I'll see like a cute flower, I'm like, oh my god, it's a meow.
Okay.
I see a dog.
I literally have been saying that all day. So I want our audience, like, this is your life, is a meow. Not everything is a meow. From the U.S. was not a meow. Before we get down to business, I have to see your eye thing. You're known for keeping one eye open. The porcelain doll. Can you come up close to the camera and show us what the hell this means? Okay.
Okay. Tell me if it's okay. You can see.
And I hope this is like going to be a single called The One Eye. The One Eye Meow.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh my god, you guys. Oh, you can do it too? Oh my god, that's very good.
Oh my god.
We're so gifted.
I mean, I do that when I'm drunk when I don't mean to.
That's very good.
Yeah. Like at 2 a.m. in West Hollywood, they're like, are you waking up? So Monroe, being the baby of the group, you kind of heard K-pop first. Of course, it was at a Jonas concert. When you saw the Jonas concert, me at that age, if I went to the Jonas concert, I would have been a perv. They would have been like, get out. Being the baby of the group, what benefit do you think that has for riVerse?
You know what? I feel like I'm very much connected with what's happening now. You know, like the pop culture and like what are the kids saying, like that type of stuff.
It's really important.
I feel like that is the benefit of having like the younger member in riVerse, like knowing what's going on, because then I can go back to them and I'll be like, hey guys, so like this is what's happening. This is what we're gonna do. And they're like, really? And I was like, yes. And then here we are.
Could you email me a Cole's notes of that, just kind of on the weekly? Would that be something we could arrange? To both of us?
Me. CC me. Yeah. They're like, I can't stand him, or I stan him. I'm like, wait, what? Did you forget?
Well, and
the
I
D?
just found out that there's no more skinny jeans, so I'm wearing bell bottoms. I hope you're proud of that.
But bell bottoms are so hot right now.
That's what I mean.
Bell bottoms are making a full comeback, actually, for our Poison Ivy virtual concert that is happening. It was originally going to happen May something or other. Now it's happening June 5th. I am wearing bell bottoms 2 times, and I tried on my wardrobe last night, and I was like, I am so excited to wear the bell bottoms.
I'm just excited Slim Fit's not a thing anymore. It's like, okay, I can forget trying. Diz, so being kind of the master puppeteer of the group, I want to know from your perspective. I have directed shows that I've starred in. It's very difficult. You're also the main songwriter and choreographer. How do you separate yourself as the mastermind of the group, but also as a performer, as part of the 4? Are you able to see it from an objective point of view?
That is a great question. And
that's why my name is on the marquee.
Hello. Hello.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. God, I love these cheers. Cheers, sweetie.
Yeah, so that has actually been at times during our 10-year career as the group riVerse. That has been a challenge because when you're working in a group and you're one of the members, but you're also the one who's saying, improve your vocals, fix this choreography, this is the song, this is what, like kind of leading the way, kind of directing. Because at the end of the day, the band, the vision came from me. So I always struggled with being the type of leader that I needed to be. Because if it was somebody that was outside of the group, they would have no problem telling the other the group.
Always right.
That's right.
When you're in it, sometimes you can have friction. Sometimes it can be it's like a source of, what am I trying to say?
Hatred.
Resentment. Yep.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Sometimes the butting of heads, and
sure.
That happened obviously very early on when we were. It was a lot more fresh, and we were still learning how to work with one another. But to be completely honest with you, like, we have become such a family that now there's such a respect foundationally that there really is no issue there anymore. Like, I'm able to, they have given me the space to be able to execute said vision without feeling guilty. And a lot of times, actually, Khadijah reminds me that I will usually wheel it back myself and try not to lead, but she will always be like, no, do what you gotta do because you have the vision. So I had to learn really that it was okay for me to be the boss. It's been a journey, and I'm still learning, and sometimes it's still difficult, but we make it work. I mean, we're still here, right? So,
well, I'll just tell you, again, that shows the respect that the group has.
That's right.
For riVerse, because I've directed a show where I cast all my friends because I thought, oh, it's going to be like Christopher Guest and we're all going to be amazing. But they're like, oh, you're my friend. I don't have to listen to you. Or it was almost impossible. Your group really puts the vision ahead of everything else. So I want to talk about, our audiences really love when we talk about the reality of entertainment. And so we're gonna talk about something you briefly touched upon, not to bring things down, but there was a time that riVerse kind of broke up, took a little time apart. How did the group know that it was time to do that, and how did you know when it was time to come back?
We knew that it was time to separate when the idea of stepping into the riVerse space to work was, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't exciting anymore. It wasn't fun. It was heavy.
Yeah.
Right.
We would be like, okay, we have rehearsal today, or we have this today, and we would literally be like, okay, let's go and do this. And again, not again, because I'm only saying it for the first time, but it was really, think what allowed us to, I think, come back seamlessly the way that we did was because we knew that the reason why things became heavy wasn't because of the four of us.
Yeah.
Like, we knew what the issues were, even though we didn't know specific details because it was a very complicated situation. But we knew that foundationally, what was happening around us and what was causing us to for the situation to get so heavy, we knew that it wasn't between the four members of the group. And so, despite that, though, we knew that when we had our final meeting at the time before we broke up, that the energy between us still wasn't healthy. And so, we decided to put our mental health and our joy and our peace above anything else. And it was very hard, but we knew that we had to do it. And even during the course of the breakup, we still were talking. I used to hang out with Zach. Khadijah and I kept working together. Monroe and I we'd call each other here and there and like sometimes shed tears and be like, it's not over yet.
It was so romantic.
But I think it's important to know when to step back.
I was just going to ask you.
That's really important. And I think that if you can trust yourself and do that, as hard as it is, it will give you the space to do what's next. And what's next was for you to come back together. So I applaud you for trusting that.
Well, and when you have a successful brand, the temptation is just to stick with it. We're hearing, all of these stories of bands from the past that we loved that had such an awful experience behind the scenes. And it's like, well, what were you doing it for then?
Right.
And so sometimes it's also healthier to just make a clean cut and be like, I'm done.
We came to this to create joy for ourselves and for others. And I know I've had that experience too, where you get to a point where you just think, this was not the intention. And I need to retrace my steps and get back to where it feels right. Because once it feels right, then everything just gets so easy and it becomes like a pleasure. It's like when you're having to push through too hard, then you're like, this is not why I signed up for this.
Yeah. And that's exactly why. Like, that's exactly why we came back together, because the way that it happened was, I remember a friend of mine at the time was playing the riVerse album nonstop. And there was one particular day where I was just like laying down on the bed and the sun was just beaming in my face and he was playing the album and I heard the music and I was just like, this is so good.
Fabulous.
I was so far removed from the music, and it was the art, it was the music that I was just like, we're not finished yet. We have to put this back together. And then that's what it was. And then upon the reforming, it's like we remembered, once we had that break from each other, we remembered how much we value and love and appreciate one another. So aside from the music and the art, it was like, but this is my sister. This is my family. So
well, and it's such hard work, right? So the hard work has to feel like it's adding up to something.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're feeling drained instead of filled, you're on the wrong page.
But it's also hard to know that it's an obstacle to overcome and work through. You're like, this is like a point. This is the chapter in my book, and I'm going to get through it. It's hard to know when to go through it and when to take a break, especially when you're on a successful career path.
That's right.
Because we're so afraid of missing out that if we take time away, we're like, wow, that's it.
But isn't it kind of like a romantic relationship? You know when it's time to go, but then you just can run it into the ground by staying longer than you should?
Yes, you're talking to the most single man in the world. I also want to talk about another family moment that you have all had. A lot of the stories coming out from the HIV awareness and education world come from people that have been enjoying a long life since their once deadly diagnosis. Diz, you're coming out as HIV is a recent occurrence. This story really spoke to me because we do hear from people, I've been living with HIV for 20 years. I lived through it through the 90s, which was a very, 80s and 90s, which was a very dangerous time. This is fresh. It's fresh for you, Diz. It's also fresh for the group. This is a real family moment. I want to ask the group, what was your reaction when Diz came out as HIV positive? Beyond the friendship, it is about the brand and the group. This is another descriptive that's added to the group. I want to hear from you ladies what your reaction was and how you talked about it as a family.
So I remember that day very vividly. I was actually with Khadijah at her place, and Diz came over because we were going to do some riVerse work. We were actually getting ready for our album. And he sat us down
And, you know, he told us, he's like, I have something to tell you. I'm HIV positive. And Khadijah and I both sat there and were like, okay, yeah, all right, got it. Like,
What do you need? Yeah.
like, okay. Yeah, we weren't like, oh my God, like, what are we gonna do? Like, it was not that at all. At the end of the day, this is our brother, you know what I mean? And this is family. And you're always there for family, no matter what. And you were speaking about the brand. The thing about riVerse is that we represent the underrepresented. Do you know what I mean? We cover so many different demographics.
You are Jesus.
So, we literally are just representing more people, you know, and that's a beautiful thing.
Wow.
And the fact that people can look up to Diz and see someone who is HIV positive and is a superstar, come on. Like, it gives people hope. It gives people something to continue their days, because it's hard. It's very, very hard. And the best that we can do is continuing educating ourselves, being true to ourselves, and going out there and delivering that positive message to the people.
And I think it's so important for our younger generation that didn't grow up in the AIDS, HIV original, epidemic to understand that, what the disease is, how to live with it, and the positive ways that you can discuss it and share with your family. You said, oh, well, it's family, so we knew. There's a lot of people that don't have real family that will do that. And so you guys are also speaking, you folks are also, I'm trying to not use the pronouns, you guys. It's challenging, but I'm trying. But your group is showing what family is beyond blood.
Well, and I think the other thing is that you all are being, this word is sort of overused, but I can't come up with a better one. You're all just authentically being yourselves. And I think that really touches a lot of people. And I think you really give people permission to be themselves, because you all are so yourselves and you're so creative and vibrant. And I really applaud you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, not to get, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that is very much the priority, because we have been told throughout the course of our lives and our careers that for whatever reason, you're plus size, you're black, you're gay, you're this, you're that you're not good enough. And we have taken it upon ourselves not only to continuously try to empower ourselves and one another, but to do it also for the people out there who are watching us. We want them to know, our audience to know, that no matter what, like, you're a star. Like, whatever form that takes for you, what that represents for you, you can do and be whatever you want, and you don't need permission from anybody else.
Exactly.
And that old story is bullshit. Like, there really is no reason for somebody who is an incredible artist but happens to be plus size, or is an incredible artist but happens to be black or gay or whatever, or HIV positive, that they can't step onto the world stage and shine, because we all deserve it. And that's what the goal is, for us to empower our audience in that way.
That's really beautiful. It's beautiful, you guys. Keep going.
Thank you.
All right.
We ain't gonna stop.
Before we all get sponsored by Hallmark, we're going to do a segment. We're going to do a segment on the show. We're really going to flip this right now. Kurt,
ready?
go ahead and take it away. We're going to play Truth or Sip. Kurt, take it away.
Truth or Sip on the Rocks with Alexander.
I love my show.
Come on.
Yes, so cute.
Just in time, by the way. Okay. This is, Diana, you're also part of this. Who is the most overrated current pop singer? So here's the rules of the game. You either have to tell me or you have to take a sip.
Overrated pop singer.
Current pop singer. You can't be like...
Oh my gosh, overrated.
Ooh, I feel like I have to.
I'm finna say.
Yep.
No shade to her, but I really feel like Taylor Swift. She's.
Oh,
I
girl.
understand why people love her, but also.
Cheers.
That's my answer.
Okay. All right. Monroe, are you going to sip or are you going to tell us?
I'm gonna sip.
Yeah, okay.
Like Taylor Swift fans coming
All of a sudden, Taylor Swift is crossing. Could you just name off of the call list?
Invite all of her friends onto the concert. Yes. Not invited.
Diana.
Same. I in the early years when she would show up with her guitar. Now I haven't listened to folklore, so I might adjust.
And you're the
this.
folk expert?
I haven't.
It's a folking gas.
I haven't had the heart yet. I haven't had the energy, the emotional real estate freeze.
She didn't even have the energy. It's like, girl, did you just call us on the phone with this?
But I think that I watched her documentary and I was like, yeah, cool, but not
Yeah, no.
billions, not billions and billions and billions of dollars of people.
Okay, next one. This is for everybody. Have you ever hooked up with a fan right after a show? Truth or sip?
No.
God, I'm disappointed.
Eventually.
Eventually, like you got a number and then?
Became a boyfriend.
Oh, that's boring too.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Next.
Right after a show part, gave
Yeah.
everybody an out.
Khadija, this one's for you. Okay. Nicki Minaj, rapper or not? Truth or sip?
Rapper.
Cardi B, rapper or not?
Rapper.
Oh, okay.
Now I say rapper. When she first came out, I was like, reality
I think everybody,
star.
yeah.
But she really has been like, I feel I'm inspired by her because you can see that she's working at her craft every day. So now when I see her, I'm like, okay, Cardi.
Okay, all right. Diana, this one's for you. Biggest music, you've trained and been vocal teacher to a lot of musical theater, big names. Biggest musical theater pain in the ass you've had to work with. You're like, I do not want to work with them again.
Sip.
I knew that was coming. riVerse. I know you have played all types of gigs from big to small to school events. There's some pictures of you with youth, which really, really makes me smile, even though I hate children. But I truly do. Least favorite gig you have done?
Least favorite gig?
Yeah, truth or sip?
Least favorite gig.
We've had some. I would say we were just talking about this the other day. There was once they hired us, and I don't think they knew what they hired.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Performance, and we were doing a full
Yeah.
stadium-worthy show, and people were walking by with their little cocktail plates and talking. So mad. Days was on stage doing his vocals, giving people dirty looks as he was singing.
Because, girl, you can see that there are 4 people with microphones singing and dancing. You're gonna walk right behind me and have a conversation about your real estate. Absolutely not.
I love it. Oh, God. We've all had those.
Yes.
We've all had those gigs, and I will let you know, I don't know if you know this, Lady Gaga used to not perform as Lady Gaga, but she used to be with her guitar at the corner of Trunks in West Hollywood. Trunks is the seediest, most hole-in-the-wall bar.
Yes.
And she was singing Poker Face as an acoustic song before somebody came in and said, make it whatever. So she probably thinks that that's her worst thing, but, we've all done worse.
Yes.
Okay, Diana, least favorite role that you've played. You're like, oh God, I'm gonna get my paycheck, but I really hate singing "Go Go Go Joseph." What?
There was a review show I did.
Oh, review shows are the worst.
Yeah, and
they are the worst.
In its defense, though, it worked really, really well in the summer stock that we did. It was like the hit of
They
the
always
season.
are the hits.
No, it was so good. So I was really on board too, and I thought this is going to be amazing. We're going to bring it to the big city. And I called that one. It was people would say to me, "What is it? What is it called?" And I'd say, "It's called $700 a week." And they're like, "We can't find that on the Ticketmaster."
Review shows, from my experience, are the worst, but they're most fun backstage because the whole cast is turn their back on it. It's let's just make this fun.
I've done a couple really good ones, but this one worked in the country, did not work in the city.
Okay, riVerse. I want to know who's the biggest diva of the group.
Diz. Diz.
Cheers.
Okay, there we go. Who is the one most likely to be late?
Diz.
Excuse me?
He's not having it.
Yeah. Who's the one most likely?
Diz. Wait, to be fair.
This girl, and Zach.
We all. What? Anyway.
They're having a domestic.
We all
Yeah.
have a tendency of being late. It's 10 years in, we keep telling each other, guys, we have to do better. We don't do better. But
Don't break up the band, Alex.
And I was going to say.
Most often late. Or like really late.
Wow.
So bad.
I'm sorry. If somebody is 15 minutes late, I'm out the door. Of course, Zach didn't even show up, so he's the most late one here tonight. Appendicitis. Come on. He probably had a bad Viagra reaction.
Oh my God.
Which one of you is most likely to hold the note just a little bit longer?
Monroe.
Okay. All right. Who is the one most likely to get too crazy at an after party?
Monroe.
Diz!
Okay, fine.
I can't even.
Well, too crazy at an after party?
Who is the one?
Not now.
Oh, God, what's happening now? The next single by riVerse is called After Party.
Not now. Maybe before. Girl.
All right. Diana, this one's for you.
Okay.
As a vocal coach.
Yes.
You've done 8 shows a week for
Yes.
so many different shows.
Yes.
Is it ever okay to lip sync on stage?
No.
Even Sarah Brightman did it during Phantom. Even Michael Crawford did it during Phantom.
100% no.
What if you're dancing up a storm and you
I
can't
don't care.
possibly...
I don't care. It's just a hard no.
Oh. Everybody, that has been Truth or Sip with riVerse and Diana Kazakova. All right, so we are going to... I couldn't be more obsessed with you, and I know I said don't say obsessed, but I am obsessed. Tell everybody where riVerse, where you want them to find you and follow you.
You can all find us at riVerse Live, RIVERSE Live, and that's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of it.
And that's also on Perry.
Yes.
All right, we are going to watch Baby Boo. Baby Boo. Jesus, I can't even say it. Baby Boo. Do you want to introduce this song? Tell us what it's about, what it means.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen and genders? We are riVerse. My name is Diz.
I'm Khadija. And I'm Monroe.
And that's Zach. And you are about to watch Baby Boo. This is our first single off our sophomore album, Poison Ivy, produced by the one and only Korean producer Mirror Boy. And here we go. Check it out.
Yes.
Bye-bye, single life. Yeah, I did it, yeah, we did it. Inside butterfly. I can feel it, can you feel it? I don't claim to be your perfect girl, but I'm the pega in your boy meets world. I'm gonna scream it out. Tell them what it's all about. Yeah.
Post up what you on me. I never scaled back, cause you told me, show me, to malone me. I want you, baby, I want you. The two-step like the OGs. Loving overnight till the daylight breaks free. Double up with the movie songs I write. Be about you, baby.
My baby, my baby, my boo. My baby boo, my baby, my baby, my boo. My baby boo, my baby, my baby, my boo. My baby boo, my baby, my baby, my boo. My baby boo, 안녕하세요, 봄통이에요. Goody good girl, going bad, Mr. Dayo. So seductive, yeah, you want come more man. Watch me TikTok, pop, drop, lip lock. It's a girl crush concept, thing you dig. Hit you with a love shot, call me Billy the Kid. Turn off your Snapchat, boy, come and get your cookie. 21 and over shit, you ain't dealing with the rookie poster.
Post up what you on me. Never scaled back, cause you told me, show me, to malone me. I want you, baby, I want you. Two-step like the OGs. Loving overnight till the daylight breaks free. Double up with a movie, songs I write. Be about you, baby.
My baby, my boo. My baby, my baby, my boo. Yeah, baby, my baby, my baby, my boo. My baby, my baby, my
Baby, don't be mistaken. It's not just about all of the love that we're making. Like the sunrise and diving, awaken. I trust in love again. And my darling, you are the reason I say.
my baby, my baby, my boo.
All right. This is my jam, I'm telling you. And then we get to see how fabulously amazing they are. All right. From Texas, are you ready, Diana?
I feel extremely ready.
This man is a gentleman. He's a scholar, and he's just super fabulous. All right. Cameron, turn me off. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Cameron's getting his ish together. Kurt, help him. Kurt is Cameron is sideways. I can't hear him. Okay.
Cameron, can you hear me?
I was just gonna do. Cameron, can you hear me? I was gonna do the Barbara. And you. That is so us. That is so hilarious. I literally was about to do that. Okay, Cameron is sideways, and we can't hear him, but that's okay. And there's some
Other than
people
that?
there. Yes. Okay, I'm going to introduce Cameron, and he's going to get his ish together. Mute him, Kurt, until he's ready. Cameron Ross started his country music journey at the age of 8. He soon began singing at a local country music concert that allowed budding artists to grow and make a name for themselves. In 2006, he put out an album produced by T.J. Shepard and Kelly Lane called When I'm Done Loving You. And in 2010, he played at A Day in the Country Music Fest, opening for the band Perry, Miranda Lambert, and many other artists. And in the summer of 2020, very recent, his amazing voice and his delivery took season 15 of NBC's America's Got Talent by storm. Sofia Vergara said that she had goosebumps listening to him. Actually, what she said was like, oh, blah, 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 because we couldn't understand because it was Sofia Vergara. I love her. Simon Cowell loved Cameron's performance so much that he had him sing an additional song a cappella for a chance to actually hear his voice without the music background. He excelled in the competition, making it all the way to the live quarterfinals. And he has added his name to the ranks of the increasing number of openly gay, big-name country music artists. Please welcome Cameron Ross. Cameron, are you there?
I'm here. How are y'all?
Good, good, good. Oh, I just love your relaxed, just casual around the house look. You look like a Tom Finland picture with a little Paul Lind and like Garth Brooks at his hottest.
100%. I like that.
Like that's totally. So, Cameron, I know Shania Twain has inspired a lot of the gays and drag queens, but she is literally responsible for your career. Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually remember it like it was yesterday. I remember our neighbor giving my parents a few tickets to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and they only had 4 tickets, and because there was only 4 of them in their family that were going to go, so my parents had to buy an extra ticket for my younger sister. But it was one of those moments that it was in the Astrodome, which is here in Houston. It's a big deal, and the Houston Livestock Show around Texas is just a very big thing here. And so they gave us those extra tickets, and it was for Shania Twain, and it was one of those things that I just kind of, once I was there, I remember, running down to the very end to where you could go down to the stage and standing up on the gates there that they had set up and just kind of listening to her and just knowing in that moment that's where I wanted to be eventually, and just enjoying the concert. She's absolutely phenomenal when it comes down to a singer and a performer. So it was kind of, that's all she wrote after that. And I just kind of knew from there, that moment at 8 years old, that's where I wanted to be eventually, that stage. We're still working on getting on that stage, but definitely having fun along the way.
It's interesting what we remember as kids as our inspiration. And for most people, it's like, oh God, that was one of my favorite singers growing up. But it's very rare that inspires you to be like, I'm going to also be on that kind of stage too. And that's just where our natural kind of inspiration comes from. Diana, what was one of your first?
I have to say, I think Anne Murray was my first concert.
Anne Murray. Girl, that's a name. Where is she?
I mean, she's golfing.
In Palm Springs?
No, she's golfing, I think, in Eastern Canada.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, everybody's just hanging out in
She's
Canada.
amazing.
Cameron, what was it about Shania, though? Was it the pageantry? Was it the song? Do you remember what exactly it was?
It's just, I look back on it and I start to think about, like, the concert, and I can remember bits and pieces of the concert, like the performance, the energy, everything that the crowd gives back when it comes down to, just really tuning into being in that very moment, enjoying, the music that she's putting out, the concert itself. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is probably it's the biggest rodeo in Texas. And so they bring in some of the biggest artists as well. And so it's definitely a goal of mine, but it's just like one of those things that the lights and the stage itself is just, it's absolutely amazing.
Do you come from a musical family?
Sorry to interrupt. In the 90s,
no, please.
It was kind of her prime time. So everything that was taking place, like with her, like, her dancers that she had there, all the music that she had out was some of her biggest music at the time, and still music that we know during this moment right now. And so, being there, it was just one of those things that it just, the whole performance itself, the arena itself, it is like something that I would never forget, but can definitely say that, I remember sitting in the car after that concert, with my grandma and my dad and my grandpa, and heading out towards the countryside of everything on a road trip, and singing her music after that. I was absolutely obsessed and hooked after that. So it's just one of those things that it just all seemed like every bit of what she had during that concert was something that I absolutely loved, and just kind of knew that somehow I had to make it there at some point.
I think she was one of the first crossover artists that I remember. It's like, oh, she's a country music, because she was on Kiss FM all the time.
Sure she was, yeah.
It was one of the crossover, but to your question.
Yeah, I just was curious, like, is there music in your family? Did everybody else play instruments? Were you raised on it, or was that something you came to yourself?
So musically, so we have family reunions, things like that every year. And so there's always somebody that's picking a guitar.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Those.
Yeah.
I've been going those since I was very, very little, in diapers. And so it's one of those things. I wouldn't say my immediate family, my sisters, my mom and dad don't sing or play, but my cousins, I have multiple cousins that play and sing.
Got it.
I have one here in Dallas, or the DFW area, that sings as well and plays and just really enjoys doing it. But it was one of those things that I kind of, I grew up listening to music, all sorts of music, rock, jazz, pop, everything. And country music was just one of those things that I just really took to.
Sure.
And kind of hit the ground running with, and took a liking to at the same time. But, definitely influenced by, little things that happened with the family here and there. But at the same time, it was also something that I kind of had to figure out by myself, and kind of, pave my way in where I needed to go from there.
Got it.
Being part of the music industry at such a young age, kind of opening for these big names and being this young country music star, I'm sure there's positives and negatives. What do you think those were, being entrenched in the biz at such an early age?
So you definitely get your feet wet with, what can take place, singing in kind of a bar scene, or playing on a big stage where, I played somewhere where, like, the band Perry and Miranda Lambert was headlighting that evening. Multiple things that go on. And so there's definitely some great things that happen during that time. But at the same time, I feel like you almost mature a little bit faster, because you have to be on point all the time when it comes down to, making sure you're interacting with the crowd, whether or not it's one person or 100 people, making sure that they all feel special and that they're getting a good performance as well. Some of the kind of, as I was growing up as a young kid, my parents were kind of the managers for me. I had that momager and things like that. And so she always meant well. And it was always great for everything she did for me. And I'm very, very grateful for, having such an amazing mom and family. But at the same time, you've always got that guard, I'm her baby, I'm her son. She has to make sure that I'm protected in every way possible. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22 there with certain things, but you know, looking back on it, I wouldn't have it any other way. She meant the best with anything and any decision that came along during the times when I was younger. But definitely, you kind of get thrown into different scenes. I remember singing at bars when I was 15 or 16, and my mom having to come with me, things like that. So definitely a lot of stuff that you see that you wouldn't, when you're that age as a musician and kind of sing in different places, especially in these small towns all over Texas. So.
Well, it must also play with your psyche in terms of what like a man looks like, especially in Texas when we're talking about like machismo, which is from my culture, and what's masculine, what's feminine, especially in a bar scene. When did you kind of have the first idea when you weren't like the other boys, or when you were having feelings that wasn't around what you were seeing?
Yeah, so it was, you know, I got picked on a lot during high school. I had long hair that was past my shoulders. You know, I played volleyball. I hung out with a lot of the volleyball girls at the time as well. So a lot of my friends were girlfriends at the time, you know, girls that were friends. And so I got picked on a lot through high school. And at the time, I didn't really know that I was attracted to, you know, the same sex and to other men or other guys. And so, you know, I got picked on a lot, not really knowing what I'm, you know, they'd call me, you know, gay and things like that, and kind of pick on me from that standpoint. But at that time, I really didn't know who I was, you know, as a person and settle into everything just yet. It wasn't until my late, like, teens and early 20s that I started to realize that, like, okay, there might be an attraction towards men, and kind of going that direction with everything and kind of exploring, you know, my sexuality in those different areas. So definitely a little bit of a later bloomer there.
Right.
But you know, it definitely, I really feel like I had, once I hit my like early 20s, really figured myself out and really tried my hardest to figure out, you know, what is my sexuality? What am I feeling? How do I deal with it? Things like that. And then also you're at the same time digesting what it is everybody else is saying in the world about it. So,
you know, I was really touched by your single, because I feel like in that single, you found a way to kind of honor your town that you came from. And it seemed like you sort of made peace with this place that now I'm learning was difficult for you in certain ways. So that aspect of your song was really, I don't know, I was really touched. Is that too Hallmark for you? Are you okay?
Well, no, you know, I actually have this written down as well. It's like, it celebrates going back to this kind of small hometown kind of feeling, very Texan. From the outside, I'm like, why would you want to go back?
Right.
But like you said, it is a celebration,
peace, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
What is it about that kind of environment that we should be celebrating or looking at, or that we could learn from the outside?
You know, like the song itself, if I could go back, you know, talks about, you know, going back to those memories from that time period in your life, like going back to different memories and things like that. So I grew up in a fairly big town, but the neighborhood was very, very small. You know, everybody knew everybody. Our neighbors knew everybody. We all knew what was going on. We knew the cars that were driving down the street, you know, if there was a different car placed, you know, in the driveway, things like that. You know, everybody knew everybody's business, much like a small town. And on the weekends, I basically lived in different small towns everywhere, especially with the family leasing out ranches and things like that we would, you know, grow up in. And so it's the memories, I feel like, that you take from those moments and you really hold on to. And I feel like as you're younger and you're growing up, you don't appreciate those moments that you have, you know, and really cherish those. And as you get older and you get into, you know, working a job and having to pay bills and things like that, you know, you kind of lose track of, like, you know, I've had an amazing childhood no matter what. And like, there's so many amazing, like, little things, big things, everything like that, just kind of, you know, I should appreciate a little bit more. And going back as an adult and revisiting those memories, I feel like, you know, it's something that I can look back onto and really kind of cherish whether or not they were good memories or some that weren't so good. If they weren't so good, you don't harp on them too much. And if it might be a lesson learned at some point, but it's really hanging on to those memories and your family and your friends and, just growing up into an as adult and really reflecting on that kind of childhood or teenage years, the younger years. And I know I'm still a little bit young in my early 30s, but, I definitely look back at the memories that I had as a kid and think, you know what, I had an amazing childhood and I had an amazing family.
This is how, you are just outside of, our WeHo bubble. A gay man never tells their age. Kameron, I want to know what your coming out was like. Being surrounded by your family and this successful career and then making this kind of statement. Tell me what it was like coming out to your family.
The first people I came out family-wise were my sisters. I have an older sister and a younger sister. And, they didn't bat an eye, not at all. It was, I remember them telling me, whether or not you're gay or straight or bi or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. You are who you are. We love you as a person, and you loving, a man or a woman doesn't make any difference, it's kind of that love is love aspect of things. And so as long as I'm happy, they were happy. And so with them, it was very easy. They were my younger sister, Courtney, my older sister, Candace, were the first who I told, and, really didn't bat an eye with anything and didn't see me in any kind of different light. I was still Kameron. They still loved me no matter what. With my parents, my dad was more accepting than I thought he would be, kind of really just almost in the same light as my sisters. And so it was one of those things that he kind of it took him a little bit of an adjustment, and just kind of learning who I was as a person and a little bit more about me. But, he didn't really take it harshly or treat me any differently. My mom and I had a little bit of button heads. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. My whole dad's side of the family are Jehovah's Witnesses. And so it's very strict values in that sense. And that's kind of how I grew up, and so my mom took it a little bit harder when it came down to coming out. And so it was one of those things that when I came out, I kind of told her, and I moved out at the same time. And so she was like, I'm losing my kid after he's been living at home all this time. And then I'm finding out he's gay. And so we kind of had a little bit of a rough coming out there for a little bit. And we probably didn't talk for a good 9 months or so. Wow. And it was one of those things that, we just would butt heads during that time and just trying to understand each other. And looking back, it was just more of an understanding, and probably I could have done a lot of things better when it came down to my communication. But after about 9-10 months, it was, I remember telling my mom, I can't help this. You choose who I love who I love. And, it sounds so cliche, but I was born this way. I don't choose one path or another. It doesn't work like that, and so it was one of those things I told her, we can either be in each other's lives, or if this is something that we can't get along with, that, we won't be in each other's lives very much. And it was soon after that she kind of came around to kind of really getting to know me. Was I dating somebody? How are my friends? Am I doing well in life? Things like that. So it was definitely good and bad at the same time. But after about, almost a year, things went in the right direction with the family, for sure.
Well, it sounds like you made that kind of effort to be like, this is how we're going to have the rest of this relationship. And so that took a lot of courage. I want to talk about what happened with your career. And for our audience that doesn't know your story, coming out really affected your upward trajectory from opening for these big names. And then you come out, and then everything kind of stopped. The bookings kind of stopped, everything. I can't imagine what that must have done with your psyche. It's like, I'm proud of who I am, and then my career's at a standstill.
Absolutely. Yeah. It, it was one of those things that at a young age, I spent every weekend, on a Friday, we'd pack up our bags, we'd head out to East Texas, North Texas, West, whatever it may be, sometimes to Louisiana. And, my parents would come along with me. We'd either get a hotel or we'd sleep in the car and get a few hours of sleep and then drive back to
I love these
Houston.
kind of stories.
So good.
It's your passion.
That was my weekends. I grew up driving to East Texas a lot. So I spent a lot of time in East Texas. And so very small towns all over the place, population 1,000 people, a couple thousand people, if not a little bit less than that. And so, a lot of these people are very open-minded, but, they're also very conservative as well. And so once it came down to, booking gigs and me coming out and me wanting to come out on social media, things like that. And a lot of the times, people are promoting you and your social media, things like that. So once they go check it out and see, oh, you have a boyfriend or you're dating a guy or things like that, it became like a change of mind when it came down to booking me. I started to feel uncomfortable with, going to play a bar where it was very just very, very conservative people. And so me coming in, trying to dress like who I wasn't and act like somebody who I wasn't something that was appealing to me. And so I definitely went through a rough patch where I lost some gigs, and I went back and forth with myself, pulling stuff off on my social media, making things private and, not providing all that information for people to see, and not really kind of living the life I would want to live and really kind of being conservative myself with what was put out there. So I went back and forth with a lot of things at the time because it was like I was losing bookings and people weren't seeing as much interest. And that was kind of a point in my life where I was just like, you know what, I need to take a break. Like I need to figure out how I'm going to go forward with things. Do I want to chase my dream but not live who I am as a person? It was kind of really one of those things because I've worked so hard as a kid. At this point, I put out an album that was produced by T.G. Shepherd and Kelly Lang, his wife. And so I have really big things that have been played on the radio, things like that. So it's like I'm letting go of all of this for, my happiness. And so I kind of took a break at that point.
I'm so sorry that in this new millennium, you're still having to deal with stuff like that. I'm so sorry. It's so embarrassing to be straight sometimes.
But it's also an eye opener. We tend to think, things are getting so much better. We're seeing so many gay characters. There's country music stars coming out left and right, but it's still
I'm
an
sorry
issue.
that that's still an issue.
It's definitely, we're heading in the right direction with that for sure.
Small steps.
Country music is very, has the kind of blinders on sometimes. I feel like it, and the people that in these small towns that might listen to country music, or even in big towns, might not be more aware. Like we're just like anybody else, no matter who it is that we love, and we have people like Casey Musgraves and TJ Osborne from Brothers Osborne and so many other country music artists. Ty Herndon, who's a good friend of mine.
Ty Herndon was on our show, and we had a lot of fun. We talked about his first meeting with Dolly Parton, where she sang his own song to him, and he almost passed out in the elevator and couldn't even speak. And she's like, okay then, and walked away.
But it all improves because people trailblaze like you are. That's how it gets better.
But that's just it. And Cameron, you did this. You went through this rough transition without even, when we have the worst day, we go I go to my mom. I'm like, this is what's happened. And you kind of had to do it on your own. So thank you for that. But I want to talk about, most of the headlines now are reading, openly gay country music artists. Cameron, it's like you're a unicorn or something. You became a gay activist without really asking to be. Is this kind of this weird pressure that you have? It's like, well, now I can't be sassy on Instagram. I can't, have a one-night stand. I can't be on Grindr, even though I know you're with your partner, but still we know what happens. It's like, God, now I went from, being in the closet and dealing with this, and then I went through the struggle of not getting booked, and now I'm getting booked, but now I have to be an activist. That's like, can I just be Cameron Ross?
A musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I definitely try to stay really true to who I am. You know, I am very like a very like chill person.
And you're super nice. I was telling Diana before the show, it's like, it's impossible that this popular guy is so nice, but that's who you are.
Your mom raised you well.
You know, my mom would whoop my butt if she found out I did not stay true to my roots. If I was being some diva, you know, that's just, it's not how I was raised. I don't, you know, I have my diva-ish moments, and my partner will say that at times where I'm just like being a diva, but at the same time, I just try to, you know, there's no reason for me to be rude to somebody, even if they're rude to me, things like that. So I definitely try to stay true to who I am when it comes down to
The country could benefit on large from that philosophy.
You know, we talk with artists that come from small hometowns, and they usually act like Cameron does, and it's just a breath of fresh air.
Isn't
it's
it?
so different.
Absolutely.
It's like we all could learn from this.
That's right.
All right, Cameron, so driving into the studio today, I see a big poster for America's Got Talent, and there's Sophia, there's Simon Cowell. I have to say, the nation's introduction to Cameron on America's Got Talent, Simon, you start singing, and then Simon is like, stop. And we thought, oh, God, Simon has a problem with it. When Simon Cowell tells you to stop singing, it's like, oh, shit. But it actually turned out well for you. What was going on in your mind when Simon Cowell tells you to just stop?
Yeah, so I've watched these shows for as long as I can remember, and I've auditioned numerous times. So Simon raising his hand is kind of like one of those things that if he's raising his hand, he's like, half of the time, most of the time, is not going to be like not good news.
Right.
So literally, you saw kind of like during the audition, my face just went blank. Like I just straight up panic. I'm sitting there thinking like, you know, okay, I'm going home. He's going to tell me I sucked. This is like the worst audition ever kind of thing. And so I just went completely blank and dumbfounded at the same time. And then as he kept talking, you know, he sits there and says that, you know, he wants me to sing the song a cappella and he wants me to slow it down a little bit. And I like kind of that pressure kind of came off. And there's moments that weren't showed on TV, but he actually asked me to sing my first song all over again. So I sang Red Dirt Road by Brooks and Dunn. And so he asked me to slow that song down. He wants me to sing it a cappella and just kind of go with it. I do not remember my lyrics at all until I said that first word.
Doesn't that always happen?
Remember. So it was very much so a panic moment. I freaked out in my mind and tried not to show it.
You go into like white noise, that feeling of like just like bzzz.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what's happened to me. And so it just, you know, I look back on it, I'm like, goodness, I wish I wasn't so nervous.
But I mean, there was no one watching, so.
Yeah,
I know, right? But
low pressure.
Here's the thing about Simon. You know, Simon helps artists that he loves. He knew what he was doing with that moment.
That's right, he did.
He knew that number one, that you could do it. He knew that this is going to be a viral moment. This is going to be something that we remember. He challenged you, and he knew exactly what was going to happen to make your career happen, whether or not you progressed on AGT or not.
Yeah.
And look what's happened.
Absolutely. You know, we've had COVID affected a little bit, and things were a little bit slow, and they're just now starting to pick back up from it. But, you know, I look back on it, and not very many people get this opportunity. And so I'm like so grateful for it. And him steering me in that right direction, and, you know, me singing that song a cappella and then coming back and singing another song a cappella as well. That was What If I Stayed by Chris Young. And so we sang that, and that was what was broadcasted on TV. And so he knew exactly what he was doing when he told me to sing a cappella. We were singing in an empty theater. They got rid of the audience, so you can hear like a pin drop.
Oh yes.
So yeah.
Being on America's Got Talent opens you up to a whole different audience. You went viral so quickly. Were you ready for all of that new attention?
You know, I at one point it just, I didn't know how to deal with it. They try to prepare you as much as you possibly can. They're like, your social media is going to go crazy. Try not to pay attention to notifications, things like that. It's just your social is going to go absolutely insane, and people are going to be reaching out, and you have to do certain things a certain way as well while you're on the show. So I don't know if there's a way to prepare for that. It just, as much as I try to prepare for it, I don't know how I dealt with it at the time. I try to respond back to as many people as I could. I got so many messages from so many people that just saying my story that they connected with, things like that. So it was overwhelming in all the best ways. And I try to deal with it as well as I possibly could.
So we got a number of questions from social media. This is one that I'm interested in. Is what is your creative process? Do you sit and write the lyrics out? Do you drink a bottle of whiskey and then go to town? Like what's your creative process?
So it's just it's one of those things that sometimes I get in that mood. Here in Dallas, I don't have a lot of musical connections. I have a handful of people that I work with here, and then a handful of people that I work with in Nashville. And so it's just one of those things when I could think of a hook in my head when it comes down to a song and I'm trying to write something and try to elaborate on that. And I might set it down for a little bit and might come back to it. There's moments where I will just try to write, and I sit down and write, have an idea and kind of develop it off of that. I play the guitar. I am not the best at the guitar. So most of the time I'm coming up with melodies in my head and writing lyrics to the melody from there. So it's when I start collabing with people and we start pulling in somebody who can play the guitar well, and we just really start putting it down, that things really come together. Or we're in the studio, we're kind of trying to put things together as we're going at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I had a question for you. What's the reality of a reality television show that we don't see? What happens behind the scenes that would surprise us?
So there is a lot of work that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
You are constantly going through outfits, singing in different looks.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly, if you're a singer, you're constantly going through music. You have to get everything approved beforehand.
Interesting.
So, all of your music has to be approved ahead of time. When it comes down to the rights, make sure that we have the rights to the song, things like that. So a lot of that stuff you don't see. And a lot of times people think that, you audition for a reality singing show or TV show,
mm-hmm.
that you kind of go right into in front of those judges. There's multiple rounds that take place prior to broadcast.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those things that, you go through this process of auditioning, going to a producer, talking to that producer, going to another producer, talking to them, and then, making it to where you need to be on TV. So a lot of it is, you're dealing with a bunch of different producers all at the same time. And a lot of people don't see that kind of behind the scenes things. And, I became very close with a lot of the people and a lot of the production team from AGT, and I'm happy to call some of them my friends now. And they've been such amazing people. They're such amazing people, and they're so passionate about what they do. But a lot of people, what they see is, you're on stage and then, you're in front of the judges and they think that's how it is. But there's so much interaction behind the scenes with production and getting everything approved, and anything from wardrobe to music to, how you walk on stage, the creative team that you're
mm-hmm.
working with. Where, at what point in the song are you turning to this camera, or are you turning to that camera?
Right.
So a lot of stuff that goes on, and it was a first experience for me being on TV with things like that. So a lot of different learning curves.
Now, Diana, being a vocal coach,
yes,
we know reality TV has been great for some vocally, like
mm-hmm.
Adam Lambert, Kelly Clarkson.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it also has kind of a negative view. It's people think that they can be a star by being on reality TV, and that becomes their focus. Whereas a vocal coach, it takes it takes
time,
hard work. Do you think reality TV has kind of put a negative light on vocalists, or do you think it's actually helped other singers come out as young, be like, I want to study being a singer or the arts? Or
I think my feeling on it is the one thing that does work about it is that if somebody's ready, I think it's a good experience for them. But there's a difference, as I'm sure you'll attest to because you've done it since you were a kid. There's a difference between being able to sing and being a seasoned performer in the industry. Those are two very different things. And I've heard some of like the old school in the music industry say, if you pop onto a reality show and you get chosen, we're all worried about you if you have never been professional before because there's so many things that go into it. So I always sort of am like winging a prayer, like you have a great voice. And I hope that the experience for whoever, XYZ, I hope that they can learn quick enough that it becomes a positive thing and not a negative. Because if you're not prepared, if you haven't put in the time, you can blow out your voice. You emotionally are not ready to handle it. So I think it's like, that's my best answer.
It's like a double-edged sword because, when we talk about like Capitol Records and we talk about Frank Sinatra, when you see documentaries of how they recorded, it's them with the orchestra and they're literally recording on
It's live.
the record. There's not this edit cut on reality TV. It's like they're also producing the behind the story. It's, what is authentic, what is not. And a professional singer has to be prepared, like you said, at any time. Well,
and I think the difference is too that you have to be able to deliver what is on a recording. I've said this to my students over and over, and I'm like, be careful about that recording. Make sure you can live up to it in the room.
That's so important. And I think, Cameron, that's a big difference with country music. Every country music star that I have gone to see sounds exactly like
I'll
they
agree
do.
with that. I agree
They're
totally.
there. They even put on a better show. They even sound better.
Yes.
Whereas when you go see, other singers, it's like, oh God, it's literally they press play on their CD. I think country music has different standards, and maybe it comes from like the folk music where it's just real and it's visceral.
Well, and I think, and musical theater, you have to be able to deliver 8 times a week.
That's
You've got to
true.
have technique in order to do that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anyway.
It definitely, country music and the concerts, I can honestly say that pretty much every concert I've been to, people sound like, there's not all the auto tune and there's not all of the, different things going on in the background. It's your voice and acoustic guitar or, a band. And a lot of the times you're going to get what you hear on that album or single, whatever it may be.
It's true. And, if a pop group has a great sort of whole picture to them, I'm kind of down for it. But I'm very impressed, like with riVerse, where suddenly they bust into like a 4-part a cappella of the Canadian anthem, and you're like, okay, real deal. Yeah. Not that you can't hear that in their actual music, but it's like it's different. It's still like people say, oh, so and so can do this, and I'm like, let me sit down at a piano with them, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah. Oh my Lord!
So I'm so happy you got your a cappella moment and you rocked.
Yeah, it definitely it was a great moment. And there's some parts of it, that as you're leading up to those singing moments and what I was singing, there was so much pressure because I didn't know what song I was going to sing until a couple of hours before I went on stage.
Oh my gosh.
I just can't do that.
Songs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had a handful of songs and they were like, we're going to go through all these. You get there, you rehearse them, working with the music team, things like that. And so we rehearsed them over and over and over again. And then showed up prepared, and then we picked which one we were doing. And we ended up changing it up a little bit, singing it a cappella and slowing it down like Simon wanted me to. And, it definitely came out during that audition.
Takes courage. It takes courage.
It just get me nervous. Like I said, I'm from the musical theater. It's like I need the sheet music. Sure. I need exactly to know. I can't, no. Cameron, we're going to take a little peek of If I Could Go Back.
I love this song.
Love this song. One of the questions, so I want you to introduce the song this way, is many questions we got. It looks so great. We know that independent musicians, budget is like number one. It's the biggest obstacle in terms of filming music videos, getting your album out. This video looks amazing. Here's the question. We want to know, as independent musicians, with little to no budget, how this looked amazing. Give us your secrets to the video for If I Could Go Back.
I have some, I am very blessed to have some amazing friends. I try to surround myself around good people and things like that. And I try to put out that energy at the same time. I had my friend that's a photographer who shot all of my promo photos and things like that, hooked me up with his friend who was a videographer. And it just we all clicked. Our text message is called the Dream Team, and everybody is on there. And it's literally
we all need a dream team
set of people, and we just all collabed. It was one of those things that at some point I hope I can pay them back for helping me out and getting photos and music videos and things like that done. But as an independent artist, they're striving artists themselves. They're trying to make different music videos. They're trying to make ends meet and things like that. And we all saw a big interest in each other and kind of came together. And it was one of those things that we all just clicked and it just seemed right. So it was one of those things that I was blessed to, have friends that did this in faith out of me and just kind of really believing in me. And I couldn't be happier with, what we came out with and what we came up with. It was a big collaboration. You try to take in everybody's artistic view and everything.
That's great.
And kind of really put together the best product you can as a team.
And as you know, it's a very small business. So build networks because that's what's happened.
You know who my dream team is? Craig Ramsey and Brandon Liberati.
Because you're going to look good and you're going to be fit. You're going to be
fabulous.
Amazing.
Yes.
But it's such a small world. It's like,
that's right.
This is my advice is do not burn bridges.
That's right.
And also, sometimes you do stuff for free because if we all succeed, we all succeed.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take a little peek of If I Could Go Back. And then when we come back, we're doing Hot Topics with Cameron Ross and Diana Kazakova. All right. If I Could Go Back.
If I could go back, I'd stay a little bit longer. Breathe on in all of that small town wonder of a big world and some big dreams our hometown couldn't offer. When I didn't have a care and memories calling me there. If I could go back, if I could go back.
That was your 1 minute snippet of If I Could Go Back. Okay, we're going to do one of my favorite segments of the show. Kurt, take it away. Make sure the volume's not too high, by the way. Kurt, take it away.
It's time for Hot Topics on the Rocks with Alexander. Better pour yourself another.
This is hot. That's hot. That's hot.
So hot. So hot, you guys. All right, Cameron, your Instagram and even your album cover is very sexy. I've seen more parts of your body than I have in my own mirror. Like I'm just like, "Oh, what was that?" So here's the hot topic. Gay music audiences are more fickle than mainstream audiences. And I don't want your feedback on this. Because they just care about shirtless selfies, gain a few pounds, put a shirt on, and then they are gone. They'll like your post but not engage in your music material. Sexuality overshadows the music in the gay world. That is the Hot Topic statement. I want you to refute it, fight it, defend it, whatever. Yep.
So, I work very hard. I'm very, very hard on myself about my body. And, I've been since I was younger. I grew up a toothpick and just skin and bones. And so
that's my dream. Kurt, we actually have a picture of Cameron earlier.
To lose weight, it's hard for somebody to gain weight as well and kind of really keep it on. It's just, I try to make that statement that it's just as hard. And so I put a lot of work into, where I'm at with my physique, and I continue to try to improve it as we go on. I will say, you know, the gay community has this like stigma of like of being very kind of obsessed with, you know, the way we look sometimes and how our bodies are and making sure we look good in a Speedo, things like that. But at the same time, I have such an amazing set of friends here, and they are all body types here in Dallas. And so, you know, we'll be at a pool party, things like that. And, you know, somebody might be a little bit thicker than I am, or a little bit skinnier, and might be, you know, a whole lot more fit than I am. And we really just don't tune into that, honestly, with the friend set that I try to surround myself.
Girl, I've never seen you take a picture with somebody in a Speedo that is not fit. But my question is, though, is that the audiences, your music audience, is your sexuality overshadowing your skill? Because, Diana, we know, like, your audience doesn't care if you're fat, thin, or whatever. It's like you're from the straight world of music. It's a whole different...
They care. But I think, honestly, this is what I think.
Yeah,
I think that if you have the talent to back up whatever, you can win your audience.
But I think, so here's what the hot topic is that gay audiences are very fickle. And we're talking about body positivity as you know, the community, or we're all accepting. When we see pictures of the pool parties, now that we're back into it, we're seeing that it's not. And Kameron, your pictures when you're shirtless or in a Speedo get more likes than, here's a clip from my last single, you know? And so my challenge to the gay community is that we are very fickle. We're more interested in a shirtless picture, whether than a musician is a great musician or not.
Well, I can't speak to that, but as an ally, I can say that I feel like if the quality of the music is there, I want to believe that in the long run that will hold. If the music is good and it's well constructed and it sort of like hits a beat, I would like to believe that will have some staying power. Maybe not initially. Maybe the first snapshot is a little more, you know, based on the surface. But I have faith in that.
And this is what Hot Topic is about. It's like a debate. So let me put something to you. Madonna is our icon. I'm sorry, she's the patron saint of music. In the last 2 years, because she's aged, she's gained a little weight, and then she's done the filters and then the weird stuff. The gay community has turned on Madonna. And how do you turn on Madonna? But that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, Kameron, like, if you were to gain 20 pounds or, you know, wear a shirt, would your audience still be there? I mean, I'm calling on the gay fan audience. It's like, what are we concerned about? Real quality music.
Right.
Or just the image. And that makes us shallow people.
But I think that is not just exclusively to the gay community. I think that exists across into the straight community too. There's a lot of pressure on everyone about how they look. But my thing is always like, you know, it's for me, make the most of what you are, whatever that is.
I've been told that.
Debate me.
No, I'm told that too, because my weight goes up and down so much. And it's like, I know when I get booked more, and I know when I don't get booked more. And it's like, I'm not going to be the new Ross Matthews who lost weight because he's in a new relationship, which I think is the worst way to lose weight, by the way, because it's like based on something else. It's awful. But like me going to Bette Midler concert, I don't care if she's big, skinny, whatever. I am there for the music.
But that's what I'm saying.
Midler.
She's established herself as a long-term talented person. And so then we're not being superficial about her. We're digging into the whole of her. So that's my hope anyway. What do you think?
You know, I can definitely say that when it comes down to a social media standpoint, that if I were to, you know, have something that shows my abs or my chest a little bit more, I might get a little bit more traffic that direction, especially a little bit with the gay community. But I think that, much like you said, it's like almost across the board with straight people at the same time. You know, the appearance is a big part of kind of everything. But at the same time, you look at artists like Adele, who might have not been the most, you know, a little bit thicker when she started out, and she's lost all this weight now, but she started out with this like big bang, and it kind of really all these big hits, and held that the entire time, and people just loved her music, and just, you know, she'd hold out on us for a little bit and wouldn't say anything after an album came out, and then she'd come back and drop this big bomb, and everybody would go nuts, and, you know, the music goes to #1.
That's what I hope. That's what I'm saying. If the music and the talent and the work is there.
And you bring up a good point. Like, Adele is such a great, like, we didn't care what size
No,
she
we
was.
don't
When
care.
she sang, "Say the fire, no, 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 no," we were just like, we were there for it.
I saw her in concert.
Exactly.
It was just beautiful.
Even when Jennifer Hudson hit it, we
Yeah.
were like, we didn't care.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yep.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
hoping.
And it
That
should.
talent is the staying power.
But Cameron, you're like on the other side. Like, let's say you wanted to get fat all of a sudden. No, like, I'm really being serious. Like, during COVID, hello, I've never been bigger in my life, and I'm like, oh my. But Cameron, it's like, oh my God.
Well, you know, I would hope that if I decided to gain a few pounds,
Nobody decides. It happens to you. Life happens.
you know, if it happens and I gain a few pounds, that people would still see my personality through that, and like really love who I am as a person and my music at the same time. I would hope that would be the outcome of everything.
I would hope so too, because at the end
I would hope so, but here's what the hot topic is like the gay community, as all inclusive and free loving as we are not. And I think
it's
that
like a
when
high
Adam
standard.
Lambert gains 20 pounds, all of a sudden, oh, that has been. But then he loses weight and comes out with a new album. We're like, oh God, he's so great again. And so I want to challenge this community.
Right.
It's like let's really focus on the skill that artists are putting out.
Well, and also the soul, because the truth is that, you know, in the straight and the gay community, we love our elders. We don't wish they were different. Like, it's not really a true construct. Maybe in terms of dating and romance that matters, but why does it matter anywhere else? It shouldn't.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
feel
I loved my grandma. I don't care. That sort of construct applies to dating, but why should it apply anywhere else? Attractive, sure. Take care of yourself, put some fun effort into your, or not, but I'm just saying that, you know,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be the most important thing.
Yeah,
But maybe
and
I'm
I feel
idealistic.
and sometimes, you know, the gay community can sometimes be very tuned into our appearance and how we appear to other people, and it can be something that's very important, you know, to some. But
But we also rally around these like body positivity, like like riVerse is all about body
They're
positivity.
fabulous,
But when
yeah.
it comes down to it, do we really, you know?
Well, I think it's like a bigger picture versus the one-on-ones.
Oh,
I
that's
find
okay.
a lot of heart in the gay community. I always have. That's why I'm drawn
Yeah.
to it so much. There's a lot of heart.
absolutely, and it's like I said, you know, I have myself and has been different shapes and sizes, and then I have friends that are all different shapes and sizes, and we don't judge each other. We're very, I try my best to put myself around people that I appreciate them and respect them so much, and they kind of return that at the same time. And so older, younger, no matter what, we're all just very accepting of each other. And it's not always the case with everyone and their friends said, but you know, there's probably people that look at me and they probably think that, you know, I'm not the most fit person or whatever it may be, and are judging me in some kind of sense. But I try to really be at peace with who I am. I think that's me.
I think that's
out
the biggest
way.
thing.
Right. And if you're at peace with yourself, you're easier on other people too.
That's exactly right. And you know, like Cameron, like everyone's like, "Oh God, when you don't wear your shirt," but somebody will always have something to say, no matter what.
Sure. Yeah, that's part of
absolutely.
life. Yeah.
It
But
was
if you
like-
know
it
who
was
you are, then it doesn't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
knock you
Yeah.
down.
When I was on the show, I was gracious enough to have friends that are friends with Detox from Drag Race.
I
And
know
so-
Detox very well.
She is a sweetheart. And so she sent me a message, and it's probably one of my favorite messages I've ever gotten. And the two friends that did that for me and kind of connected us together, I was just blown away. And she was like, just don't pay attention to the comments. There's always going to be somebody who is, you know, has their 2 cents to say. My partner, Leo, is one of the most gorgeous people I know. And like, people are like, will always have something negative to say, but it's just, it really is one of those things that you just try not to tune into to certain things like that, because as a person, you know who you are. You try to stay true to who you are and be the best person that you possibly can.
Good vibes only.
Good vibes only.
Good vibes
so
only.
I literally have a page about you and Leo, by the way. that we didn't even get to. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Kameron is taken. One of the things, and I was even telling you this before the show, your partner has his own successful career, Sugar Rush on Netflix. So supportive of you. You're supportive of him. It is so enjoyable to see that two people in the entertainment business, number one, number two, both gay, can be so supportive of each other. Did you just luck out, or did you set like certain, like, these are the steps before I let somebody into my life, and now somebody has earned those steps, and now I'm happy?
So we met through, so neither of us when we met were looking to date anybody.
That's the best time.
Yes.
We just kind of, so we met at a Labor Day party so one of our good friends is Alyssa Edwards. And so,
just name drop right now. Okay.
it's how we met. And so
it was cheap alcohol. Okay.
She throws the best parties ever. And we met at a Labor Day weekend party at hers that she was like having. And, you know, he was there and I was there, and I had no interest at the time. You know, we kind of met each other from a distance, and we were not interested in each other at the moment. Yeah.
Not love at first sight.
It was just, we kind of were both there. And it wasn't until me and Alyssa were out, her and I went out for one night with a group of friends, and we run into Leo at one of the bars on our strip. And so she kind of hugged him and everything, introduced us really quick and all that good stuff. And then we kind of went our separate ways. And so about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, I got this story wrong. The first part of our relationship, we're on the dance floor, and I separate myself from everyone, and I'm sitting there looking around, and he sees me looking for him and comes over and kind of starts talking to me and things like that. And we just kind of hit it off at that moment. I thought for the longest time that I kissed him first that night. I might have had a couple of drinks and might have been a little bit intoxicated. And come to find out, like, he was the one who kissed me first because I was too chicken to do it, too nervous to do it. And it just kind of really hit off. Like, I think the next day I came over and he like refused to hang out with me. I was like, I'm busy. I've got laundry to do. I've got this to do, yada, yada. And I just was like, we need to hang out. We need to hang out. And I came over and I sat on the bed and he folded laundry and we just talked for hours. And I had to be up at like 5 a.m. the next morning. Stayed up a lot later than I thought it was. And it just kind of, we hit it off from there. And it's just been like, it's been easy. It's been good and it's been easy.
Lovely.
And supportive.
Lovely.
And like, you know, if it's not love at first sight, even though you guys are both like the model like bodies, like I guess two bottoms don't make a right, but I guess they do. All right. Kameron, tell our audience where you want them to find you and follow you.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Kameron Ross, and it's Kameron with a K. And if it's not Kameron Ross, it's either Kameron Ross or Kameron Ross Official, but I'm on all platforms when it comes down to social media, and then on all streaming services as well. So definitely can find me there.
Thank you so much. You know, I love chatting with you. We've chatted for many different times. He's also on the cover of GED Magazine this month. Yes. That was my interview, by the way. So
Fabulous.
There we go. Yes. Love you. Love Leo. When you guys are in LA, it's on.
Yes. The world shut down the weekend I came to LA. So I am due for another trip to LA.
Yes, you are.
And really experience, because I haven't been outside of COVID. So I've got to come back soon.
Yes. Thank you, Kameron.
Thank you.
Diana,
yes.
Tell us where we can find you and follow you and listen to the reset. Just do it.
At Diana K New York, that's New York spelled out, on Instagram and Facebook. And yes, on Bandcamp, The Reset, Diana Kazakova. Just listen and breathe.
And just a little side note, she played Lucy. I played Charlie Brown in Your Good Man, Charlie Brown. We're talking about doing a concert version.
Absolutely.
This would be magical.
I really think we need to make that happen.
Yeah, I think so too. You guys, another episode of On the Rocks has come and gone. It's always a grab bag of fun. Thank you so much. Thank you to our fabulous guest, our engineer, Kurt. Kurt, thank you so much. Our in-studio producer, Michael Vega. Our researcher, Mama Rose. Our intern, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have Tony Award winner Alice Ripley, and I'm kind of freaking out because, that's a lot.
Royalty.
Yeah. We also have drag queen Sherry Vine coming up.
Fabulous.
So please share, subscribe, so we can continue to bring the show for you for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. Until next week, see you next Tuesday.
Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Find everything On The Rocks for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.